Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we're diving into a genuinely crucial part of strategic business analysis, mastering the completely unpredictable forces of the external business environment. Think about it for a second. Literally, no company operates in a vacuum, right? To actually succeed out there, you've got to look way beyond your own four walls.
Okay, let's frame this up with a big question. That wildly unpredictable market out there, it's a massive threat to a company's very survival. Consumer habits just shift overnight, new tech completely disrupts entire industries out of nowhere, economic tides totally turn. Those massive business giants don't survive all this chaos just by getting lucky. No way. They navigate it through really careful, structured analysis of the world around them. And honestly, that is exactly what we are going to break down today.
To do that, we're taking a zoom-in approach. We'll start broad with the role of external analysis and environmental components. From there, we'll zoom right into the PESTLE framework, get super specific with Porter's 5 forces, and then finally wrap up with some real-world strategic implications.
All right, Section 1. Roles of External Environment Analysis. Let's look at how assessing this environment actually functions inside the big-picture strategic planning process. Fundamentally, we define the external environment as any force acting from the outside of the organization. I like to think of it this way. Picture your internal environment, your operations, your teams, your products, as your ship. The external environment? Well, that's the weather. You absolutely cannot control the wind, the rain, or the tides, but meticulously assessing them, that dictates exactly how you have to sail if you want to reach your destination in one piece. Analyzing this weather lets you spot hidden market opportunities and catch major threats way before they actually strike. It completely dictates your market positioning and makes sure you're allocating your resources where they'll pack the most punch. Really, it's the ultimate tool for risk management, for adjusting on the fly, and for understanding what your stakeholders actually need as the whole landscape shifts. Bottom line, it's the absolute foundation for any kind of scenario planning.
Moving right along to Section 2, Components of External Environment. We really need to pin down what specific elements actually make up this weather surrounding our businesses.
Now, what's really interesting here is the direct link between the outside world and internal corporate identity. You've got these 6 major types of external forces funneling right in, and they directly dictate an organization's mission, vision, strategies, and policies. And because of that massive impact, these outside forces heavily shape the day-to-day realities. Stuff like consumer demand, how you approach product development, where you sit in the market, and even the everyday dynamics of your supplier relationships.
Which brings us to Section 3, PESTLE analysis. To actually make sense of these huge macro-environmental forces, strategists rely heavily on this first major framework.
This totally breaks down the 6 core categories you have to assess. We're talking political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal factors. By rigorously checking each of these boxes, whether it's anticipating a sudden shift in government trade policy, tracking a massive leap in tech innovation, or just paying attention to changing lifestyle trends, a business makes sure they are never caught off guard by some macro-level storm.
Okay, Section 4. Porter's 5 forces model. Let's zoom in even closer now, shifting from that broad macro view right down to the micro, industry-specific level.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that this gear model measures the sheer intensity of competition in your exact industry by analyzing 5 distinct pressures. Right in the center, you have the rivalry among existing competitors. But that rivalry, it's constantly getting squeezed by 4 other interlocking forces: the threat of new entrants trying to steal market share, the threat of substitutes giving customers a totally different way to solve their problems, the bargaining power of suppliers driving up your costs, and the bargaining power of buyers driving down your prices. Understanding exactly how these 5 gears interlock is literally essential for survival.
Let's actually look at 2 of those forces side by side to see how this analysis plays out. Take the threat of new entrants. How easily can a new player just jump right into your market? Well, they might be scared off by existing economies of scale, meaning the established firms can just produce goods way cheaper. Or maybe those new folks can't get access to distribution channels, or they're totally terrified of expected retaliation. Then, on the flip side, look at the bargaining power of suppliers. Their influence over your prices and quality really comes down to things like the total number of suppliers. If there are only a few suppliers out there with a highly unique product, they hold all the leverage. If you're mapping out a new venture or digging into a case study, you absolutely have to weigh these specific dynamics to see the true landscape of your industry.
And finally, Section 5, Implication of Strategic Analysis for External Factors. let's explore how major corporations actually translate all these theoretical frameworks into real-world moves.
So, all this data basically drives action in three main areas. First up, strategic adaptation. Organizations literally have to adapt their strategies to changes in consumer behavior and tech. Think about Netflix and Apple. They are absolute masters at continuously pivoting based on new tech trends and what consumers want. Second is risk management. You have to identify and neutralize external threats. Toyota is a brilliant example here. They use this exact kind of data to heavily mitigate risks from economic shifts and geopolitical issues, which keeps their massive supply chain incredibly resilient. And third, this data is just the absolute bedrock of long-term strategic planning. It's what allows companies to build durable, bulletproof strategies for the years ahead.
So we've seen how the external environment acts as this massive, uncontrollable force. But as we've also seen, it's one that can be deeply understood if you use tools like Pestle and Porter's 5 forces. Because honestly, missing a tech shift, ignoring a changing labor law, or just underestimating a scrappy new competitor, that is exactly how industry giants fall. So whether you're breaking down a case study or building your own future business venture, ask yourself, have you truly analyzed the weather outside? And is your strategy actually prepared to navigate tomorrow's storm? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, guys. Keep analyzing and always keep looking ahead.